Thakur, Swamiji, in his Bhakti Yoga, he says some of the characteristics of love he gives. Love knows no fear. You know, the triangle of bhakti. Love knows no barter. We know the meaning of all this, so I won't dwell on it. And then he says, love is always of the highest ideal. This is a very significant point, the third angle of bhakti. It is always the highest ideal, so it has no competition. It has nothing to replace it. Nothing can compare with it because it is always the highest ideal for the bhakta. So this is the triangle of bhakti. In order to gain this, there are certain fundamental laws which I would like to discuss, the science of bhakti. You see, bhakti entirely depends on your self-image because it starts with I and you, isn't it? It's the dual mode of worship. Now, if this sense of I is not well developed, bhakti will not develop. That is why in Bhakti Shastras, in the path of bhakti, they usually give a very elevated self-image to the practitioner. If you go to traditional Gaudiya Vaishnavites, they will actually give you a self-image. Like, say you are a Gopika, a friend of the friend of Radha, something like this. Or you are a Gop Balak who used to play with the friend of Krishna. Something like this they will give you. A self-image is required in order to relate with this, the Divine Lord. So that is why our self-image as bhaktas should be very elevated. We are devotees of the Lord. We will not give in to low thoughts, low emotions, worldly ways. Our conduct, our behavior, our speech, everything will be of a certain level. Our bhav will always be elevated. This self-image is very much required. In a very big way, identity plays a role in bhakti. That is why an elevated sense of identity. The actual psychology, psycho-spiritual element in bhakti is, once Sri Ram asked Hanumanji, how do you look upon me? What was the answer Hanumanji gave? Deha buddhyatu dasosmi. As long as I am body conscious, which everyone is, so long I am your devotee. You see, the sense of identity plays a role here. As long as I am body conscious, I am your devotee or your servant, whatever relationship we form with the Lord. Deha buddhya dasosmi jiva buddhya tadamshakaha. Atma buddhya tvamevaham iti me nishchitamati. When I am not body conscious, when I am identified with my jivahood, then I am a part of you. But I am identified with the Atman, I am you yourself. So these are the three stages of evolution on this path of bhakti. This is how Hanumanji sees Sri Ram. So how much we can learn from this, you see. And then, there are three types of bhakti also, which Thakur also says in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. The Sattvic Bhakta, the Rajasic Bhakta, and the Tamasic Bhakta. Sattva is very much required for bhakti. It is the Sattva element which actually generates bhakti. So if our mind is clouded, if the mind is confused, mind is impure, then bhakti is very difficult. So manufacturing this state of mind will lead to bhakti. Then Thakur makes another very important point. He says, Satchidananda, Brahman, is like the ocean, shoreless ocean of Satchidananda. It is the shoreless ocean of Satchidananda. But due to the cooling influence of the bhakta's love, the ocean, crystallizes into icebergs here and there. There are icebergs in the ocean. But when the sun of knowledge rises, this iceberg melts away. But there are places in the ocean where the icebergs don't melt. Now, very significant this whole thing. You see, Brahman is really, the nature of God is Brahman, Satchidananda. But if you approach him with bhakti in the dual mode, he will take the form of an iceberg and relate with you. He will fill you with bhakti, fill you with love. And then, when the sun of knowledge arises, however, then what happens? The iceberg might melt away because you transcend Nam Roop. But for a bhakta, one who wants only bhakti, he does not want to let go of the iceberg. So for him, there are places where the icebergs don't melt. Chirantan Bhaktir Lok Ache, where always the bhakta relates with the Lord, lives in the realm of bhakti, like Golok. There is Ramakrishna Lok also, an extension of Brahma Lok. So, it is all there. Whatever you want, you can get. If you strive for it. If you want bhakti, you will get bhakti. If you want, after this birth, still to be a great bhakta of the Lord, soaked in bhakti, you will go into that realm. So, entire thing, Thakur has made it very clear. For the bhakta, bhakti is everything. His liberation is of the nature of sarupya, samipya, isn't it? We read all this. He looks like the Lord. He starts looking even also like the Lord. That's the meaning of sarupya. The bhakta starts looking like the Lord because whatever you love, you imitate and you imbibe. You become like the Lord. So he looks also like he looks divine, basically. And samipya, you will remain near to the Lord. Sayojya, you are in a way joined only with bhakti, with his bhav. So this is all the liberation of bhakti. Bhakti itself is liberation. Bhakti liberates the mind from all smallness. Bhakti itself is liberation. So this is the understanding of bhakti. Please remember this. The joy born of bhakti is the highest in the scale of joy available to the human experience. Because even after Brahma Gnan, many great people have said this. The bhakta can retain a joy, but because he has the knowledge of the Supreme, that the devotional delight born of that state, which is after the knowledge of the Supreme, is the greatest. In his case, the Gnan also leads to bhakti, greater. It's called para-bhakti then. A great, very elevated state of bhakti. If you read Swamiji's para-bhakti portion, it becomes very clear. He doesn't even need a form of the Lord. It is all within him. Let me just quote Swamiji's words here on bhakti, para-bhakti. Very beautiful. See what you can get out of it. He says, object after object is taken up and the inner ideal is successively projected upon them all until all external objects are found to be insufficient exponents of the ever-increasing inner ideal and are given up as such. This is when the bhakta learns to worship the ideal as the ideal, which to him is quite alive and real. This is para-bhakti. I don't know what you got out of this, but para-bhakti is far transcendental state of bhakti when this normal state of Vaidhi bhakti also is not required because you are seeing the ideal as the ideal and merging into it. It's all within you at that time. And no object can suffice for that. So it's a very transcendental state of bhakti. This, our daily Vaidhi bhakti, will lead to that state. This is what is being said.